we have to lower our standards and date someone and marry someone that isn't on the same level? That's not fair.
Dude, but you know what though? We talked about this before. We said that they're always one uglier than the other one, and it's not always the guy, is it? Yeah, it is always the guy.
Yeah, it is always the guy. But okay, so like everyone has different standards of beauty, 100%. But I can honestly, with all certainty, say that a lot of females that I know that are super successful and very like hot, smoke show attractive, end up with like guys that are not attractive. And maybe they're the nicest guys ever. Maybe they are not intimidated by their success. But at the same time, it's like, well, they just had to wait until their 40s to find this man who they probably would not have dated in their 20s or 30s.
But why do you think that is, though? There has to be a reason. It's
because I was going to say
because
something
what?
so
What
rude.
is it? Is there a lack of men that are mature enough that are not busy? But why? What is it? What's the reason why that happens?
Because a man's not going to be okay.
So wait, so you're telling me that only handsome men are they're not loyal, they're not.
I'm not saying they're
what are
not
you trying to
loyal.
say?
We are just saying, I shouldn't say we. I am saying that they are intimidated by a woman that's confident in herself, successful, and attractive. And maybe they want to date that woman because she's going to be candy around his arm, right? Like eye candy or whatever. But at the same time, like once she starts showing like, hey, I'm probably smarter than you. Hey, I have better style than you. Hey, I have way more friends than you. Hey, I really don't need you to be with me all the time. Then he gets super intimidated, does something to mess up the relationship, and then she's left like, what did I do when I did everything right? I'm speaking from experience.
Well, everyone, welcome back to another great episode of the
I know, right?
podcast.
And I know this for sure. I know, right? This for sure. And I just want to point out to everyone, we have had a really long hiatus for a lot of reasons. Basically, it was summer. And we have returned.
Finally.
And George is wearing a pinky ring because now
go.
he's super successful. And he's wearing a pinky ring
I
like
am
the
not.
Godfather. And I can't. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. I can't.
You know what? I went to an Italian wedding the other day, and I kind of like. Nah,
That's
just
not
kidding.
what
I'm
you
messing-
said. Oh my God. I was
around.
gonna say, is that why?
No.
Oh my God. Oh.
No, you know what? Stephanie's mom gave Stephanie her like baby ring, or like I don't even know if it was a baby ring.
It's like
but,
her teenage
yeah, like a
ring.
teenage ring.
With her name on
and then
it.
she fucking Stephanie left it on the counter, and I just grabbed it and I put it on my pinky, and I just left it there. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking rock it. You know, girls rock fucking guys' names changed all the time. And
Yeah, in high school.
And I'm gonna be like, oh no, that's not true. They're all over Twitter. There are all these. Oh, my man got me this chain of him
With
and
his
shit, like-
name?
yeah, with his name. And I'm just like, you know
No,
what? I'm gonna rock this
I'm
pinky
sorry.
ring. It fucking says my girl's name. I'm like, I don't care. But it's not. I mean, it's not a fashion
no.
sense. You know, I don't care. But it's just, I wore it as fun, and like it just like stayed on my pinky. That's it.
Wow. We're in the year 2000, so I just want everyone to know that that's where we're at. I had a lot of jewelry with my name on it, and all my ex-boyfriends have it, or probably by this time melted it away and made other jewelry with it or pawned it or whatever. But it is not for when you are an adult.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's not very business professionally when I walk into a new business and trying to get somebody's.
I don't even think I'd care so much if it was on another finger. I think it's the fact that it's your pinky.
What's wrong with
I
the
don't
pinky?
know. I really don't know.
What's wrong with the pinky?
I don't know. I just
What
don't
does
like
that?
it.
What vibes does that give you?
That gives me like I am I don't know, like
Say it.
I'm an unemployed guy that hangs out with my friends playing cards on Friday mornings.
I'm a World Series poker player for
Oh
my
my
career.
God.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you that I'm feeling myself because I got a keratin treatment and I've never had my hair not be frizzy for multiple days in a row. And Nicole Contraveos Ropo did my hair. And I'm just feeling myself. So shout out to Nicole. I've been taking so many selfies. Because usually at this point of summer, my hair is like this wide and frizzy. And I just have lived with it. So I don't know any other existence. It's like I feel like I got plastic surgery or something.
Yeah, she came in with this crazy energy, and I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, George did not bring that energy.
I didn't because one, I don't like when my schedule gets thrown off, and our schedule was thrown off a little bit. Stephanie's flight got delayed, and it just threw me off, and I felt rushed, and now that throws off when I get home and to do work, so it just kind of throws everything off. But the funny thing is that Susie says is about her hair is that, like, she says she gets haircuts all the time, and they're always the same shit, though. It's always the same
My hair always
thing. Like,
looks the
nobody
same.
notices.
Nobody
People just think that
notices.
she just straightens it.
And this time people have noticed. Yeah, my haircut. So I've been cutting my hair the same exact fashion in a V since I was like in 4th grade.
How come you don't try to change it or do anything?
I've done it a couple of times. So I'm not married to this style, but since I've been here at the gym, since 2013, 7 years, I needed my hair in a ponytail. Like, I've seen girls that cut their hair here at the gym and are able to do cute things with it, like with barrettes and stuff to like put it out of their face. I can't. If I'm gonna exercise or be in hot weather, I need my hair up. But there's been quite a few times where I've cut my hair short, like a bob. It looks cute in a bob. I like it. I don't mind it, but
Okay, nice.
I just with this lifestyle, I have to have it where I can put it up.
Oh yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if you don't switch it up or you're opposed to switching it up.
And like I did that thing too, like with pregnancy, where like everybody does a weird thing with their hair because of like your hormones. Like you cut it short and like change it so it's easier. I don't know why every woman does that, but I did do that too. So it was like a caramel type thing and short. It was also bobbish at that time. Yeah, I'm not married. I could chop it all off. I wouldn't care. What I care about is like it being in my face. And when it's short, it usually condenses right into the face.
Nice.
So
Interesting.
that's all.
So, almost 3.5 weeks of No I Know Right podcast.
It's been a long time.
It's been a very long time.
Yes.
And,
we shouldn't have left you
I know, I shouldn't have left.
with a dope beat to sound to.
I didn't know where you were going there. Now I know.
Yes. Sometimes I bring bars, even though they're borrowed from like Aaliyah, but whatever.
Yeah, so do we have a topic or are we just going to shoot the shit
No,
today?
I do have a little bit of a topic. I want to bring something up first, which kind of leads into what we were sort of talking about before, which was totally by accident, as far as successful women having to put up with these men and lowering our standards, okay? Because we don't know what happened, and you actually brought this up the other day about Meg the Stallion. And I feel like this is actually a really good talking point for people because first I want to shout out my shirt because we were talking about this shirt a few episodes back where it is Princess Leia with her buns, right? And that behind her we have the northern Mexican women whose the hairstyle was inspired by.
Oh, no shit.
So yeah, Lucasfilms were inspired by these women and decided to have Princess Leia's hair in the buns. Just
So
like
did they
them.
clarify that? That's where
Yeah.
they got it from? Yeah?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
it's
cool.
not like a point of dispute.
Nice.
So I think it's cool.
That's awesome.
This is on a shirt from Natives, NTVS. You can find them on Instagram. They always have dope clothing.
Nice.
All right, so back to where I was headed. Meg the Stallion was shot a week ago. First of all, I'm just gonna say like the details that I knew to begin with, okay? She was out late on a Saturday in California, by the way, which if you have never traveled there or don't know, they close everything there super early. Like if you have a curfew, it's weird to us because we're in the Chicagoland area.
Okay.
Stuff stays open here like basically forever. Like it's 5 a.m. and you're like, all right, time to go home. You know. In California, I think they close the latest places like 1 o'clock. That's number one. So I was like, okay, that's weird that they were out later than 1 o'clock and this whole shenanigan happened. Number two, we are still in a pandemic and California is closed up again. They have been shut down again. So like, what the heck were all these people doing out?
Right.
3, why is Meg the Stallion hanging out with Kylie Jenner? I feel like Kylie Jenner
wow, really?
looks
I didn't know that.
boring AF. I would not hang out with her. I think there's so many other people in that family that seem more cool and fun to hang out with. Probably the mom, the coolest one to hang out with, okay? She looks super boring. And then number 4, At first, it's like, did she get shot? Did she not get shot? Yes, she got shot. No, she said she stepped on glass. No one's being cooperative. No, she got shot twice in the foot. Okay, so now let's talk about this whole thing, okay? What happened, and also this culture that's perpetrated in like the hip hop culture about like the no snitching and the whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no one knew what was going on, and now it turns out Tory Lanez, which is a hip hop star, like his albums have been doing awesome, is the person that shot her. And I'm just thinking, like, what are all the possible scenarios that could have happened for this to happen? Like, so I tried to just be as objective as I could and listening throughout the week all the details that were going to come out. And I honestly didn't even bring it up to anyone at the gym. And then George brought it up, like, is it true she got shot? And I was like, okay. So people here know about it. All right, let's see what happens. But then as, like, a Mexican woman, person, mom, my first thought's like, what were you doing out at that time with those people? Because, like, let's say, God forbid, this happened to one of my daughters. After the whole shock, her being injured, us finding out she's going to be okay, and, like, all those details are clarified, I'm going to tell her, like, in Spanish, by the way, like, what were you doing with those people? Who are they? Why were you out so late? And what was going on that you ended up getting shot? Like, is this the life that you live? That's what I was thinking afterwards. And those are the details that I want to know. And no one's going to tell on those details because there is a culture perpetrated where you can't snitch because then you are so not street cred and all that stuff. If you shoot me, I am so telling on you so fast. I don't care who you are. Like, I don't care if it's George and he shoots me on accident. I'm telling. Like, I am telling.
All I know is she's taking all our podcast royalties, then I am definitely shooting you.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it about this whole incident and a woman feeling like for her to compete in a male-dominated rap world, that she has to follow the same rules and be like, I'm not snitching on this other guy who's also famous. It's just like, what is going on?
I mean, but you just said it right there. It's the same. It's the whole culture to it, you know? It's something that we're raised with. I mean,
yeah, but part of that culture is still misogynistic against women. There's misogyny. There are crimes against women, and they are still less than men.
But don't
like in most cultures, yes. But at the same time, it's like, okay, so it doesn't even matter that you're like a millionaire woman that's successful. You still have to be careful and put your career ahead of your own health.
Right. I do. Yeah, I understand that, but I feel like I feel like female rappers, they are a little bit more like masculine, and they have like this mentality and like a street mentality that like girly girls don't have.
Okay.
So they take that into that world.
All right. Name me a couple of rappers that you're thinking about, and name me a couple of girly girls.
So I would say like if I saw like Eve or Raw Digga or like Cardi B, you know what I mean? Like, or I saw or like Meg Thee Stallion, you know what I mean? Or just the things that they rap about and the way they carry themselves. They need to carry themselves, like you said, in that world of like male dominance rapping world, you know? And in girly girls, I mean, I would say like I don't know, like J-Lo, you know, or Alicia Keys or something, you know what I mean? Or you know, I would even say Lauryn Hill's a rapper, but I don't see that she's like rah rah, you know, blah blah, you know what I mean? I mean, she's powerful, but like I just don't know if she's like rapping like as, you know, like a male rapper. You know, she's rapping like what she feels, you know? She doesn't feel like she has to compete. She's in her own lane. And I feel that like Cardi B and all them are like, or Meg Thee Stallion they're trying to be within the top ranks of male rappers and female rappers. And I think that's that's why they don't tell. Like, guys don't tell on each other. You know what I mean? Like, snitches don't get stitches, and so
Snitches don't get stitches.
yeah, snitches don't get stitches. So
Snitches get stitches. And actually, people that don't snitch also get stitches because she got shot.
yeah.
Okay,
so,
number 2. J-Lo, Lauryn Hill, and Alicia Keys. Okay? So, Lauryn Hill has not been a rapper in a long time.
Right, for sure, a long time.
A long time. Like, when I was in middle school. Okay? So, there's a big difference between them and then the other women. Cardi B, Rod Digga. Yes, all those.
Well, yeah, I would say that they're in the rapping game.
They're in the rapping game. But the thing is that they have to be tough, right? Because they are hip hop artists, sure.
Yes.
100% it is. It comes with the culture. But at the same time, I think a lot of times when it comes to females of color, we tend to just be like, well, they're tough anyway. Because it's adultified at a young age to be like, well, they can just handle themselves. They don't need to be cared for, right? So, and then they have to keep up that whole the whole scenario, the whole shenanigans of like, I don't need anyone to help me. I got this on my own. That's not just a hip hop thing. That is an overall woman of color thing, because we are just adultified so young.
Well, I think it's a hood thing. And it's not only
It
like,
is not just a hood thing.
You don't think it's a hood thing?
No, it is not. Because we are more willing to have people of color in any place and just think that they don't need help. And if they're so tough, like if anything happened to them, if that thing had happened to Kylie Jenner because she was there would have been nonstop media, people outpouring with support. She's getting flowers nonstop. She's probably getting like the best like help ever, where it's like, people right away started making fun of the situation with Meg Thee Stallion. People right away were just like making memes about it, because it seems like, oh, she's tough and she does all this twerking thing and she's 5'10". There are studies that show we see women of color way older when they are a lot younger than we do white females. Mm-hmm. And that's not just here, that is everywhere, which is a great segue to my next topic we will be discussing for the next few minutes on colorism. Okay, because there has been a lot of conversation, which I have found so interesting, and it's coming out a lot more. I don't know if it's the climate that we're in, as far as like the last episode we were talking about the Black Lives Matters movement, and like all the things that are going on and are still going on right now, which I really love this time, even though it is a time of, polarism overall between people and their families and their friends and communities and all that stuff. People are on very opposite ends of the spectrum. I really love where it's all headed. I feel that there's no going back, right? People are showing you where they are, and there's a lot of healthy conversations happening because of it, and there's a lot of unhealthy relationships being left behind because of it as well. And so I think that's awesome. Like I mentioned before, maybe I didn't mention that in the podcast. I might have mentioned it in conversations. Like, I have been on TikTok and noticed that there's lots of white American teens that are having conversations with their parents. And I don't know if I would have had these conversations with my mom at that age if, they were so on one end and I was so on the other, So I really like that it's bringing all these points of view from families all over, and that they're being discussed. So I really like that whole thing, even if not much comes of it, unfortunately, right? But I like that we just are never going to go back from this. But because of that, there has been a lot of just like overall soft talk. And I've been noticing it here at the gym, but also like just overall conversation. I think where people now are trying to not be part of the divide. They don't want to be on any end of the marketing line, but it's been a really hard and hot summer so far, guys. We're like halfway there.
Hot girl.
But there's been like a lot of conversations like, I'm so tan, like I don't want to get any darker. And then I just stay quiet because I'm like, that's an interesting thing to say. You know what I mean? Or a lot of like, oh, yeah, it's been a very hot summer. So it's like, okay, like I've been getting so tan. I'm even getting confused for a different race, you know? It's soft talk, and a lot of it is just like overall not having the education or the wherewithal of understanding like why you're even saying that to begin with, because a lot of people don't know. And the thing is that colorism is a real thing. You may not be a racist. You may see and feel that everyone deserves equal rights and equal opportunities and not to be killed for random things and all that stuff, and still not want to be a person of color yourself. Okay? So there's just been little snippets here and there. I am a very aware person. If there's something that I am totally aware of, it's myself. And, compare George and I, we're both tan. I'm darker than George, okay? I am on the darker end.
But not right now. I'm pretty dark right now.
You are, but you're still not catching up to my shade, okay? We're not tanning at the same rate. You're a darker individual with light eyes, which is very, that's pretty, that's the perspective of like everyone in our town and from Mexico. Everyone's pretty light-skinned, overall. They look like George.
Yeah,
they look like George. I'm sure your mom's similar.
Yeah.
My mom's dark. My mom's dark, and she's from that town. She's always been a very proud, dark person. She's darker than I am in shade. So I've always noticed that, because being the dark person, you realize that, like, you're not treated the same as your light-skinned brother or sisters, okay? So it's just overall been a very interesting experience that I feel that it's heightened a lot of feelings from people, like, yeah, but, like, I'm usually not this dark. It's just it's been hot, I'm outside every day. Just, like, little comments like that have been going on. And
really?
I've never said something like, oh, like, why don't you like it? Because I feel that that's not my journey. I don't have enough time in my day, honestly, to have those conversations with people. But I just hear that all the time, But what is your stance on colorism?
Matt, you know what? Honestly, I don't even.
You don't even think about it.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't even know the full difference. You know what I mean?
Between racism and colorism.
Yeah. So like now that you speak about it, I'm just saying like maybe low key they're talking about I guess different races or something like that. So maybe you could clarify a little bit on it.
There is a difference between colorism and racism. Okay? Like I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to be both.
Mm-hmm.
Colorism is when you're giving someone preference because they're lighter skinned.
Okay.
So, like, for example, in my family, my mom's dark. My oldest sister, which she honestly does not like to be called, but is dark. There's myself and my daughter. Everyone else is about George's shade or lighter. Includes my dad, my other brother and sisters, my half-siblings, everybody. So growing up, all the time, family parties, oh my God, do you see how beautiful Carmen is? Carmen's my older sister. She's 9 years older than I am. Her and my other sister are 1 year apart, and my brother's 7 years older than I am. Do you see how beautiful Carmen is? Like, look at just, oh my God, and her like little rosy cheeks because she's so white. Oh, look at Pepe. He's so handsome. You know why he's handsome? Because he's so light and he's tall. Okay? So it's like, oh, someone please serve them. So they get served first. And then it's like, oh, hi, Susie. Hi, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Okay, because, and it's okay. I don't get upset by that anymore. Sometimes I say stuff to anger people to make them see that they're doing that, but they don't. And it's been an overall thing that I've always challenged my family on, because if you go to Mexico, if you go to any part of Latin America, and pretty much any part of the world, but I only know my experience, which is a Mexican experience. If you go to Mexico City, you could be the darkest person. You could be actually of African descent. But to get a vendor to get you to stop by at their station to buy whatever it is that they're selling, they will actually call you light. They'll call you güerita. They'll call you blonde. And as you're walking, they'll be like, oh, güerita, come here, because it's a compliment to be called light. Right? Nobody likes to be dark. Nobody's going to be like, oh, here, morena, come by. And no, that's not a compliment. A compliment would be like if someone calls you light. There are creams that are sold specifically to women to make their skin light that are sold all over. You could buy these in Jewel and Walgreens that piss me off, like to no avail, because it's like, why are we still promoting bleaching our skin just to fit some sort of European beauty standard? That shouldn't even be a beauty standard anymore because everyone's different and everyone should look different. So colorism is when specifically you're just treated better, given preference, you get more jobs, everything, because you're of a lighter skin tone, and that's it. It has nothing to do with your race. It has nothing to do with anything besides being light-skinned. And in Latin America, look at the soap operas. Everyone's light-skinned. All the people that are my shade or darker are the maids or the nannies.
Yeah.
Look at like the reporters on TV on the Spanish news. That's it. Like everyone's like, Sammy Sosa, for crying out loud, was a very dark man. And it makes me so sad whenever he is posted anywhere because that wasn't really him. That was generations of freaking hearing about how lighter skinned people are better. I mean, he has contacts on, for crying out loud. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so sickening. It makes me so sad that you go through that because you're just hearing over and over, like, being called black. Like, being called black isn't always, like, a negativeness in the Spanish language, but at the same time, you know, hearing it over and over. George, it's not like every day they're like, oh, George, the white videographer, you know? But when you're like, Sammy Sosa, like, oh, yeah, the black baseball player from, you know, you'll hear that. If that's your color in Latin America, you hear that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's what colorism is.
Yeah, that's interesting because now that I got a little bit more better perspective of it or visualization of it,
are all your siblings your shade?
that's what I was going to get to. I was going to say that I probably haven't witnessed it because we are all pretty light. We're all pretty light, and I could cross, like, I've been like told like I could look Italian sometimes. And
oh, that's such a compliment.
no, and then so like it's just like it's not that
Who's told you that?
I mean, a bunch of people. Like,
Yeah.
people, oh, I was thinking Italian, you know what I mean? And like when they don't hear your name or you don't tell them their name or your name or anything like that. But I think it's funny that because sometimes it could work the other way. Like it's harsh, but like it's not harsh. I mean, but it's like oh, but like you're not really Mexican. You know what I mean? Because you're such a light Mexican. Like I feel like I've gotten that before too. Like you've never like experienced what a real Mexican has gone through.
I'm gonna say that that's true.
Yeah, no, it is true.
I'm gonna say that that's true. Yeah.
So like when I talk to somebody like you or somebody darker, and I tell them like, oh, you know, one time I got like, I feel like I was treated differently at a bank because of this, and they're like, oh, it was probably because of something else, and it wasn't because you're Mexican. You're not that even that dark skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so it's funny how it works that way. But yeah, going back is like most of my family is light skinned, and I did have this conversation.
Is your dad too?
No, my dad is super dark.
Oh, okay, cool.
My dad is super dark, so it's kind of funny. So so my dad is super dark, but it's interesting because I had this conversation with my cousin, and she is pretty light skinned too, and she was talking about how she's like, I know my privilege. It's like as a white Mexican,
yeah.
like I know my privilege,
and that's something that a lot of Mexicans or Latin people do not. Latinx, sorry, sometimes I want to be gender inclusive. Don't know. A lot of people in my family don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. Like I didn't know until I was older where like darker Mexicans were getting treated than like lighter Mexicans, and then not only that, but like when you made it, you know, when you spoke about it, it reminded me of a conversation Stephanie said how like there was a huge argument in like the Hollywood of Mexico, like how like everyone is light, you know what I mean, and everyone.
It's awful.
So
It's cringy.
yeah, so it's pretty crazy the way she was telling me. So so and it's crazy. It's one of those things that you don't know because you don't have that perspective, and then like you don't know how things are happening. And then my my cousin tells me all these things that like I didn't know that, but like maybe now thinking back at it, like my grandma was really more nicer to like all the light skinned colored eyes cousins, and I just thought about that. I wonder why she was like we were her favorites. So like me, my cousin Hector, you know.
Ah, qué bonitos están mis hijos.
So it was really, and so like my light skinned girl cousin, like that was her favorite like girl, you know, and she was light skinned, and you know, and she said she got almost through Notre Dame, you know, university without people knowing she was fucking Mexican, you know what I mean? So like, and she's like, she had to put people in their place, like, no, I'm Mexican, like what, like, you know, so like, so it's pretty interesting.
So just like I said in the last podcast, where like some people may not talk and have an actual conversation all day with a person of like of color, I take that responsibility of just like having a conversation, even if it's small, like so that you know you're talking to a person. It's the same thing when I'm talking to other Latino or Latinx people, where I'm gonna let you know I'm not a, you know, granted I'm not as dark as others, so I also know I am very aware I also have privilege in comparison to others, but at the same time, like I in my own family see this whole divide and preferences because of that, because my family tends to be very, very light. And so I also make it a point, like within my family, to be like, no, like we're dark. And this whole conversation got more spoken of, especially in Mexico, when Roma, the movie, came out, where it was nominated for an Academy Award, and the main actress is an indigenous person from Oaxaca, you know, very ethnic, indigenous facial features, and
which I want to add. I think she was a little light for indigenous too.
You think so?
I feel like she was like. I feel like she's more like a notch under your tone. You know what I mean? Like.
No, she's a little darker.
You think
than
so?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
And very straight. You know, black hair, all that stuff. You know, the stuff that you would expect. And I mean, the amount of things said about this woman.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like it made my stomach churn, because I was like, this is why we don't get better, because the same people that were making fun of her or saying bad things about her, like, oh, look, no matter what, she looks like a vendor at a flea market in Spanish, or like, no matter what, oh, they now dressed up when she was on Vogue, in the Vogue magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, they can dress her in silk and she still looks like a monkey. Or there was a show, like a parody show, that like where the lead comedian actress was portraying her and did brown face. Like painted her face brown and got a prosthetic nose to make it bigger. I could die.
The parody, it was in Mexico?
In Mexico, yes,
really?
in Mexico.
Wow.
And like she never apologized. She saw nothing wrong with it. And that's the whole point. Like, yeah, you don't see nothing wrong with it. You can't wear someone's face and make fun of it, right? Like that's the same exact thing as blackface. So I make it very known within my family, where it's like, oh, why? Because I'm dark, you know, like even if it's a joke, because it does tend to divide people.
But
and
it's nice that you say that, because it brings up the conversation. Or
yeah,
it brings up the light.
But at the same time, if I was always a light-skinned Mexican, maybe I wouldn't know either. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really. I guess that's like a privilege, you know. Like, I guess that I'm unaware of that. That like I don't see that stuff.
Yeah, and it's really funny. I don't think that I've ever realized it either. I mean, I would hear those things growing up, like my siblings that are lighter get more attention or whatever. But when I had my first daughter, like right out of the womb, she was super dark. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I was surprised at it, that there was a possibility of that happening. Like, then I was like, I need to check my freaking self, because, like, what did I expect this baby to come out as? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that light, and their dad is not either. My two daughters' dad is not that light either. So I was like, I don't know what I was expecting here, and so I need to check myself. because now I have a dark-skinned daughter. And yeah, so like I have a dark-skinned daughter, and 3 months after she was born, my niece was born. So they're the same exact age. And my niece is my brother's daughter. You've met him. He's tall and light. And his wife then is very light. She's from Guerrero too, like Steph.
Okay.
From like the same area. And so their kids are very light. And so if you put them side by side, like in a family party, you'd be like, oh, she's a Castro, you know, the light-skinned one. Like, she's a Castro for sure, and blah, blah, blah. And so, like, my oldest daughter just came out. She was just always very ignored. And so my mom took it upon herself to, like, give her extra attention. So my mom and her are very close. But really, like, even out to this day, she, at family parties, she really doesn't contribute because she was never made to feel comfortable.
Right.
She's darker, so there's a difference between the two of them. They get along, and obviously they're cousins, you know, but there was just always a difference made between the two.
Yeah.
And it's no reason. I mean, they were born at almost exactly the same time. It's just that one's lighter than the other, like a lot lighter.
Yeah.
So.
And that sucks because that's within family.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so that is how colorism is a huge deal. And as of 5 years ago, finally, we have one of the reasons I also believe that it's a big deal is that in the Mexican census, they never had a race part. So they would just get the data of like how many people live in what town, how many women, how many men, blah, blah, blah. But never like as far as race because they didn't want to contribute or like have it be a country based off of color. But what ended up happening was that people just felt overpowered. If they were lighter, you get more opportunities. And there's no data to show like, well, actually, there's way more brown and black people than there are light people here. Because Mexicans not a race. We all know that. You can't be like United States race. Mm. You're not Mexican race. You know, there's lots of different races, and unfortunately, there's just not. Now, there's more, you know, people that consider themselves indigenous, people that consider themselves Afro-Mexicans, and all that stuff. So now that those numbers are more out, I feel like that's why there's so much conversation now around the subject because, you know, now you're not just Mexican, like, you're black Mexican. Now you're not just Mexican, like, you're a brown Mexican, you're indigenous Mexican. So, I don't know. This is going to be a conversation that's going to be going on for a long time because it is an issue. Like, look at the politicians. Look at everything in Mexico. Nothing ever gets better. I mean, look at the cartel people. Oh, my God, I hope I don't get attacked. But the cartel people, they're all lights. You know what I mean? All the people in control in Mexico are lights. And if you don't know why your avocados are so freaking expensive right now, it's because the cartel people right now are in total control of that whole fruit. So just know that all that stuff is going on. All the people in control in Mexico are light. And so that is just also one of the reasons why you only see light-skinned people on TV, light-skinned reporters, why it seems like the indigenous people are just kind of like living on their own little land and reservations. No, they're very much out in the open. They're everywhere. And for the people out there, they only know like Cabo and Cancun, you know, they're not just workers. They are big contributors to the Mexican economy. And unfortunately, what matters though is your skin color and that you're light. And that's going to help you get ahead in life.
So what do you think moving forward? How could we start changing that? Because that's like systematically embedded, like
100%.
through everything. Like that's like crazy. Like, because I mean, if it's happening in the Mexican race, and then if you just think now, you think about African Americans.
Yeah, for sure, because it happens amongst them as well.
So it just gets treated.
I really don't know the solution to that because it's just been forever. Right. And it happens in families. And now that there's census and they ask people, like, people that are dark, like, do you consider yourself indigenous? No, I'm not.
Right.
Back in the day, probably everyone's mixed. Or it's like, oh, like, there's specific towns in Mexico that are African towns, African Mexican towns. So like, do you consider yourself black? No. Like people get offended. Oh my God! When the first time I did it, I specifically did my ancestry so that I can show my family who is so against obviously me being dark because they don't want to know the fact that we have indigenous roots. I did my ancestry for that reason, so I can show my indigenous roots and so that I can show I had Africans as well. When I got it, I danced for probably like 20 minutes because I was 69% indigenous and I was 7% African. And you know what happened when I told my cousins, like, this is how much of indigenous and this how much African. They're like, oh, and they're like, what part of Africa? Like they were not, they were in disbelief.
Right.
What part of Africa? I was like, Benin, Togo. Oh, Susie even knows what tribe she's from, guys. Oh, Susie's from Africa. She's gonna start like saying her name with the sounds of vowels only. Like, it's an issue. It's an issue. But the only thing I can do is continue to have those interactions with them because they're just like, oh my God, oh, Susie's so indigenous, everybody, you know, blah, blah, blah. So just know that this is not a thing that is absent in people's families. It's very much present. And sometimes we just don't even know that we contribute to it or that we don't help it because we're not aware of it. But colorism exists highly in Mexico and highly as amongst Mexican Americans, and I really don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, all we could be doing is having those little conversations, right?
Yeah.
So, side note, it brings me to this. That brings me to this one of this real quick thing that before we finish up. But like, I don't know if you noticed, but like the whole cancel culture going on right now. But like, how do you feel? Because I feel like sometimes there's things out there that need to be out there so like people can see it. But like, I don't know, have you seen that there was this big issue with, I think they're taking down like I think it's the Office episode. Do you remember the Office episode when there's when Toby needs the white princess for Christmas?
Oh, yes. Oh, that's such a great
and
episode.
Then I forgot the
so
guy's
they're
name.
taking that episode down?
Right.
I didn't see that.
So like, and then like, so it's very that's what this reminds me of. Like nobody wants the
I get it.
the darker Barbie, you know?
Right. I get it. And actually I feel that episode's an important episode.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's important.
I don't feel that it should be canceled because for those of you guys that have not watched The Office or don't watch The Office, Toby is like the office leech. No one likes him. He's like the leper, I should say. And there's this unicorn Barbie that everyone's trying to get for their kids. And what's his name?
I forgot his name.
From the African American like warehouse guy has a bunch of them that he's selling to make a profit. And like people are coming and like paying hundreds of dollars for these Barbies. So and then Toby, to like get his ex-wife mad, wants to buy the last one, right? And so someone already bought it, and he's like, I'll pay double. So and then he pays double, and it's the black one.
The black one, the black doll.
And he looks, and then, you know, what's his face is like, well, what's wrong? You know, challenging him because obviously the Barbie's black and Toby's not black. And he's like, nothing. And so even though he wasn't pleased, I feel that that's a very important episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's nothing wrong with that doll. And at the same time, he was very surprised, and it's probably not what he was expecting. He wanted a white Barbie, right? But he got the black one. And so as far as cancel culture, I don't feel that it's also always necessary. So Mad Men has a really grotesque episode, which I love Mad Men, but it's set in the 60s, where someone literally does blackface, and you guys already know how I feel about painting yourself a different color. He does blackface, and he sings a song, and it's awful. It is so bad. But it's the 60s, and so they're just putting out like something in the beginning where it's like, this is a sensitive topic. We're just portraying racism in the 60s, and you know the casual conversation around it at that time, you know, all that stuff. I think that if it's important to the narrative of the show, like in Mad Men or in The Office even, to show like, oh, maybe Toby needed to do some reflecting on why that bothered him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel that then that's important.
Right.
But when it is just like straight up maligning, then yeah, we should get rid of it.
Yeah.
I guess it's case by case.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting on that end. So Susie, tell the people where they can follow you and where they can talk to you about this whole, if you want to get more educated on this stuff.
You can actually reach George and I at the I Know Right podcast Instagram. But you can reach me at pinkgreen31 Instagram. Please let me know if I should change my name. I don't know why I'm thinking about it, but I am because I own a gym now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's just so me. I don't know. Facebook also works. Susie Castro, Susie. That's my mom being trying to what's that word? Trying to assimilate silent E for my name. But go ahead, George.
Yes. You can follow me, like Susie said, at the I Know Right podcast. You can hit us up there. Hit us
Also,
up on
you're
YouTube.
wearing pink and green.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. She didn't even notice
What's
anything.
What's up? I didn't notice.
So,
the pinky
yeah.
ring was shining on me.
So yeah, if you or personally, if you want to reach out to me, George the content creator on Instagram, and then Facebook, just George Perez with a J.
He never checks Facebook.
Yeah. So I mean, once in a while. So yeah, I'll be on there. So, all right, guys, we reached our time limit. We want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for following us. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Music, all the places you can find a podcast at. So, peace.
Bye.